Despite all of its differences, Super Mario Bros. 2 was a resounding success in international markets. Mario is making a name for himself as one of Nintendo's flagship mascots, alongside other game series such as The Legend of Zelda and Metroid. Us Americans were clamoring for the next installment, and in 1990, Super Mario Bros. 3 was released. It's no secret how great this game is, so I won't even try and question if the game holds up or not. Many consider this the best 2D Mario game of all time, and for good reason. However, I have a differing opinion. I always heard how great the game is, but when it comes to classic Mario games, I gravitated more towards the next game we're going to be looking at on consoles, Super Mario World. I also prefer other 2D games like New Super Mario Bros. On the DS and Super Mario Bros. Wonder, partially because of those games' quality, partially because I have a ton of nostalgia for New Super Mario Bros. On the DS. I'll fully admit it, I have no shame. Mario 3 also regularly tops the list for best game on the NES, something I have to disagree with as well. Call me a contrarian if you must, but that's just what I think. Like I said, this isn't a review to see if Mario 3 holds up. Instead, this will be a review to see if I can change my mind on how I view this game amongst my own personal rankings. The development of Super Mario Bros. 3 began shortly after Super Mario Bros. The Lost Levels was released in 1986. Much of the staff from past Mario games returned. You know, Miyamoto, Takashi Tezuka, Koji Kondo, Toshihiko Nagako, all the faces we've seen before, developed this game. Even though we see our main characters again, the staff of Mario 3 was a little over double the past few Mario games, so there was some more manpower behind the overall development cycle. With all the support behind the development of Mario 3, it ended up releasing in Japan in 1988. Viewers who are paying attention might be asking, wait, didn't Mario 2 come out in America in 1988? As a matter of fact, yes it did. While we were just getting to the second Mario game over in the States, Japan was already on the third game. This happened for two reasons. The first is obviously the interesting development cycle Mario 2 had, which I went into more in the last video. For those that didn't watch it, you should go watch it by the way, the long and the short of it is that Mario 2 had to go under quite a few changes to be able to be released overseas. The second reason is that around the time of Mario 3's release, there was a substantial shortage of ROM chips. This delayed a bunch of other big Nintendo releases besides Mario 3, like Zelda 2 The Adventure of Link for example. Funnily enough though, this delay might have actually benefited Nintendo in a bit of an unusual way. During this time frame, Nintendo was approached by Tom Pollock of Universal Studios to create a movie that heavily included Nintendo products. This became the 1990 movie The Wizard. Is this just a Nintendo commercial that lasts over 90 minutes? Yeah, it is, and it isn't subtle in the slightest. I didn't watch it, but what I've seen of the movie is extremely cheesy. It did give us the famous quote about the Power Glove, though.
I love the Power Glove. It's so bad.
I actually can't believe they were able to say this in the movie. Maybe they did it so they couldn't be accused of false advertising. I mean, he isn't wrong, the Power Glove was, like he said, so bad. More importantly, this is where many kids got their first look at Super Mario Bros. 3 in this hype-as-hell announcement.
Super Mario Brothers 3!
Yeah, if I was a kid in the late 80s, I would have shit my pants seeing this. Something odd I need to point out though is that our main character Jimmy knows where the first warp whistle is, and I don't know how he does. I mean, this game just got announced. How does he know where the warp whistle is? You know, you know, why am I going to question this? It's a 100-minute long Nintendo commercial. Who actually gives a shit? In early 1990, Super Mario Bros. 3 would finally release in the States to pretty much universal acclaim. There's a ton of new features and additions in this package that make this game so great, so let's dive right in and see what makes this game run. First things first, take a look at this game. It's as if the art team combined the enemy design and world aesthetic of Mario 1 and the bright colors of Mario 2 and made something special out of them. This is the type of look that I think people see when talking about classic 2D Mario. We see the beginnings of the traditional Mario worlds that you see in many other future games as well. You know, World 1 is the grass world, World 2 is the desert, we get our beach, ice, sky worlds, which is literally called the sky, and the final world being volcano theme. Sure, these themes do get bland in the future, but seeing how they're stylized here is pretty cool. Plus, it's not all basic themes. World 4 is famous for being the Giant Land. Big Goombas, Koopas, and much larger stage geometry are in many stages in this world. It does make sense that this is the most memorable world because it is very fun going through these stages. Along with having to save Peach from Bowser like in every other Mario game, all 8 kings of these worlds have been transformed into some type of animal and we have to free them from the spell they're under. It's pretty amusing seeing some of their transformations, with my favorite being the Seal King. I mean, look at him, he's having a great time playing with his crown, it's so neat. Besides the new world themes, there are a ton of new enemy designs in this game. We get some nice redesigns of former enemies like Hammer Bros and Bob-Ombs, which I do think look nicer than previous incarnations. That doesn't compare to all of the new enemies we see in this game. Dear God, there are so many new foes Mario has to go through. Fire Bros, Boomerang Bros, Chain Chomps, Boos, Thwomps, and so much more. How many games can you say that not only does the fucking sun want to kill you, but you can also kill that very same angry sun? I don't think there's too many of them. There are also a bunch of new bosses here as well. You fight this guy Boom Boom in all of the mid-world fortress levels, and he's a complete joke. I only died once to him the entire game, and that was just because I was rushing through the stage, I just wanted to get it done. The rest of the new fights are Bowser's children, affectionately titled the Koopalings. They have also been reused to death in future games in the series, but they at least look pretty cool here, and we're not at those games yet, so we don't have to worry about them wearing out their welcome. A lot of their fights are pretty samey though. You'll get slight differences like Wendy throwing rings around and Iggy throwing his balls around. Alright man, whatever. There are also some fun references in some of their designs. I mean, I think we could all figure out who Ludwig von Koopa's referring to. What I did learn though is that Roy Koopa was named after Roy Orbison, and after looking at them side by side, yeah, it's pretty much dead on. I can't believe I never noticed that. Also, one other question. Why does Morton Koopa have Jr. at the end of his name? Did Bowser just adopt this one, or is Bowser's government name Morton? Either option you choose is funny if you think about it, but I personally subscribe to the idea that Bowser's first name is actually Morton. For some reason, that's funnier to me than Morton being adopted. The music is excellent as per usual for a Mario game. Many of these tracks are just as iconic as World 1-1 in my opinion, and they stick in my head long after I stop playing the game. And yes, just like in Mario 2, I was also humming the Brental Floss video while going through a lot of these stages. Sorry, I can't help it. It's just been ingrained in my head after all of these years. If you compare how this game controls to the last two games, it's not even a contest. This game feels amazing to control. It's not heavy to control like Mario in the first game, nor do you accelerate from 0 to 100 like in Mario 2. It strikes a perfect balance. The way you build up momentum for larger jumps feels so much better, and you can actually see yourself gain this momentum in-game. The more you run, the P meter you see at the bottom will build up, and when it's full, you can jump super high. You can also fly with the help of certain new power-ups. This, I think, is one of Mario 3's biggest sticking points. The power-ups in this game are awesome. Of course, we get our three classics with the Mushroom, Fire Flower, and Star, but that's barely worth mentioning now. We know they'll be in every Mario game after this point basically, so let's just focus on the new stuff. First and probably most well known is the Super Leaf. This gives Mario raccoon ears and a tail that he can use to kill enemies. You can also use this tail to fly if you fill up the P meter completely. Later in the game you can get a better version of the Super Leaf, the Tanuki suit. It works pretty much the same as the Super Leaf, except you can also change into a statue and become invincible for a few seconds. These are a bit rarer though, so watch out. Even rarer than those are P-Wings, which you can only get after finishing certain worlds from Princess Peach. These let you fly infinitely for a stage before reverting back to a regular Super Leaf after you finish it. Like a lot of other people, I like to save most of these for the end of the game so I can skip the airship levels. It makes that world so much less of a pain to travel through by doing this. Next, there's the Frog Suit, which helps Mario swim a lot better than usual. Before I played this game again, I was always a Frog Suit hater. I just didn't really pay it any mind, but after this most recent playthrough, I kinda have a soft spot for it now. Don't discount the improved swimming, it helps so much better in some of the later levels. In one level in the game, you can use the Goomba Shoe, which can have you step on spiky surfaces. I, like many others, are begging and pleading for Nintendo to bring this back. It technically has come back in games like Super Mario 3D World, but I want to see it in this form again. Please give me a 2D version of Karibo's Shoe, Nintendo. I'm begging you. Finally, there's the Hammer Bros suit, a power-up so rare that the game's own manual forgot to mention it. Oops. This is in the running for best power-up in the whole franchise, no joke. It can kill just about everything in its path, even stuff like Boos and Thwomps, which are normally unkillable. One problem though, you're probably never going to find it. In my playthrough, I only found one the entire game in just a random Toad house, and I didn't use it because I didn't want to die and lose it forever. Seriously though, this thing rocks, and this is something else I'd like to see return. Something else we see are items that can be used in the overworld. Clouds that can skip a level for you, anchors that stop airships from moving, and music boxes that can put enemies to sleep. There's also the famous warp whistle that I mentioned earlier. There's only 3 in the whole game, and they let you warp to different worlds. If you play your cards right, you can get to World 8 in like 10 to 15 minutes using all of them. I used to do this all the time as a kid, and then wondered why I got my ass kicked in the World 8 levels. It's almost like skipping the entire game will make it a lot harder. All of these items are great, and even if some of them are niche, they still have their uses, and I think it's pretty nice to use them. It lets you tackle challenges in any way you please. Want to use the frog suit in a regular level? Go nuts, dude, why not? Plus, any extra items that you have can be stored in this menu in the overworld access by pressing the B button, so you can enter a level with any power-up you desire. Even if you decide not to use this, regular Mario can still defend himself just fine. Besides stomping on enemies like usual, Mario can now pick up Koopa shells and toss them at enemies, something that's a staple in 2D Mario now. I guess technically he could do this in Mario 2 if you found that one plant that had a shell in it, but there weren't any Koopas in this game, so I'm not really counting that. In later levels there are also these white blocks that can be tossed at enemies as well to defeat them. Be careful though, some enemies do also like to throw these blocks back at you as well, so be ready or else they're gonna snipe your ass. For the first time in the series, we have a world map that we can select stages from. You can also do a bunch of other side stuff on the world map. There are some mini games you can play for extra lives and items, which can honestly be pretty annoying to win. It took me a pretty long time in my playthrough to actually get these symbols to align properly. It does still feel pretty sweet to win this though, so I can't complain too much. There are also toad houses that'll give you random items from one of 3 boxes. Something that kind of gets on my nerves though about these is that every time you enter one, you get the same text and it scrolls at the exact same speed every single time. It's not the worst thing in the world, I'm aware, but it does add up when you're playing this game for an extended period of time. Let's talk a little bit more in depth about the levels now, and speaking of scrolling, this game adds a new type of level, the auto-scroller. It's pretty self-explanatory, the level scrolls at a set pace that you have to keep up with. I find auto-scrollers just kind of whatever. I like going at my own pace, so being kneecapped like this can make me pretty impatient and lead to me fucking up, but just be patient and you can get through these no problem. All of the tank and airship levels are like this too, so it can make those stages pretty rough sometimes. Also, I don't know if I was hallucinating this or not, but I swear the World 4 airships scrolled slower than normal, and I felt like this level took way longer than it needed to because of that. Maybe that's just me, but that's what I felt. Most of the stages themselves really aren't all too frustrating. Sure, there are some that'll give me trouble every now and again, but I feel they're pretty acceptable challenges. Once you get to World 6 though, this game can be pretty tough. The world takes fucking ever to finish, and it has my least favorite stage in the game, 6-5. It took me an ungodly amount of time to finish this level because I kept fucking up grabbing the shell and flying up to the exit pipe. God, it just blew. World 7 isn't too much better either with this overworld pipe maze. This also has one of the worst fortresses in Mario history. It's this dumbass puzzle where you have to hit a P-switch, go in this door, and then fly up to this pipe here. How are you supposed to know if this pipe was there? I'm not quite sure, because I looked that bitch up after almost running out the timer my first playthrough of this level, and I didn't want to have to keep wildly searching. I didn't even bother finishing this world, I just used a warp whistle to get to World 8 so I could be over with this point of the game. Keep in mind though, these are all later levels. Most of the other levels in Worlds prior are super fun to go through still. There wasn't really any frustration I had while going through a majority of this game, and I think that's a testament to how well this game is designed. Combine the game's level design, new and improved makeover, and the iconic soundtrack, Super Mario Bros. 3 has gone down in history as not only one of the best games on the NES, but also one of the best Mario games in the franchise. It was praised heavily back then, and it still receives praise over 35 years later. Its impact is still felt to this day, with so many elements and aspects still being seen in Mario games now. This is all stuff that's already known though. Go back to the thesis of this video. It wasn't, is this game good? It was, how does this game hold up in my personal rankings? To answer that question, I have to admit, I was underrating it. I realize now how great this game really is, and it has moved up in the standings. It also superseded my nostalgic love of New Super Mario Bros. DS, something that can be very tough to do when it comes to 2D Mario. I now have a newfound appreciation for this game. Now, I would like to move on to the next console Mario game, Super Mario World, especially because, spoiler alert, it's one of my favorite games of all time. However, before we do that, I think it's fair to take a quick detour into Mario's 2D handheld adventures, that being Super Mario Land and Super Mario Land 2, 6 Golden Coins. I think those will be pretty fun to see how they hold up on a handheld as old and decrepit as the Game Boy, so next video, we'll see how good these games can still be in 2026.